My name is Violet Monroe. I'm the same age I was when I thought love worked like an engine. I'm a mechanic, not the kind that changes oil and calls it a day. I own a small shop that specializes in restoring vintage motorcycles, machines built in an era when things were meant to last. My world is steel, grease, torque specs, and physics. When something fails, there is always a reason: a loose valve, a cracked seal, a flaw you can trace back to its origin if you're patient enough to listen. I believe my relationship worked the same way. For 3 years, I thought my life with Evan was solid, balanced, predictable in the best way. He was my boyfriend, creative, expressive, emotionally fluent in ways I wasn't. Where I dealt in logic, he dealt in feeling. I thought we complemented each other. I thought we were equals. We lived in a small house I owned. We split bills. We talked about the future in quiet, practical terms. Not fantasies, but plans. The kind that grow roots. The problem wasn't Evan. The problem was Lena. Lena was his best friend. Not a friend. Not an old college buddy. His best friend. They'd known each other since college, long before I existed in his life. She was his confidant, his emotional translator, the person he called when he felt misunderstood. And from the moment we met, I knew she didn't like me. She never said it outright. She was too careful for that. Her hostility lived in concern. "It's so great Evan has you," she'd say, smiling tightly. "You're so stable." Not every woman could handle someone as artistic and emotional as him. Her favorite topic was Maya, Evan's ex-girlfriend. Maya was everything I wasn't. Free-spirited, impulsive, a musician who once convinced Evan to quit his job and follow her across state lines for a summer that ended in heartbreak. Lena brought her up constantly. "Remember when Maya surprised you with that road trip?" she'd say, usually while I was right there. "I just worry you're losing that spontaneous part of yourself, Evan." The implication was always the same. I was safe, I was sensible, I was temporary. Every time I tried to talk to Evan about it, he shut me down immediately. "She's just protective," he'd insist. "She was there when Maya destroyed me. She doesn't want to see that happen again." The first time I confronted him directly was over dinner. Lena had just left after casually mentioning Maya, again, and I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse, I just said the truth. "Evan," I said, "Lena isn't protecting you. She's undermining me." He exploded. I'd never seen him that angry. He called me jealous, insecure, accused me of trying to isolate him from someone who was basically family. He said I didn't understand emotional bonds, that I was threatened by anyone I couldn't control. That was the moment I realized logic wasn't going to save us. So I stopped talking. I said, "Okay." He took it as an apology. It wasn't. It was me stepping back, listening, documenting the knock I'd been ignoring in the engine. Because when something keeps knocking, you don't turn up the radio. You shut it down and figure out what's breaking. And I already knew. It's strange how quickly people relax when they think they've won. After that dinner, the fight, Evan's anger, my quiet, okay, he started acting like everything had been fixed. Like my silence meant I finally understood him. Like the problem had been my insecurity, and now it was gone. For him, peace returned. For me, the relationship didn't return to normal. It just returned to motion. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of routines, morning coffee, shared errands, him kissing my cheek before leaving for work, him coming home and asking about my day, like nothing in our house had shifted on its foundation. But I felt it. That hairline cracked you can't see unless you know where to look. I didn't argue anymore. I didn't point out Lena's digs. I didn't flinch when her name popped up on his phone. I didn't ask why her opinions always mattered more than mine when it came to our relationship. I watched. Because I've learned something running a shop. When a customer says, "It's probably nothing," that's usually when the engine is dying. And the more quiet I became, the louder Lena got. She started coming over more often, always with a reason that sounded harmless. I was in the area. I just needed Evan's opinion on something. I made too much food, thought I'd share. She'd sit at my kitchen table like it belonged to her, pulling her legs up on the chair, tucking her hair behind her ear in that casual way women do when they want to look effortless. And every time she spoke, it was like she was pressing a thumb into a bruise. "So, Evan," she said one night, sipping wine like she'd paid for it, "are you still painting?" Evan's face lit up instantly. "I've been meaning to." "Because," Lena cut in softly, eyes flicking to me, "Maya always said your paintings were the real you." I waited for Evan to notice the way she did it. The timing, the smoothness, like sliding a blade between two ribs and smiling while you do it. He didn't notice. Or maybe he did, and he didn't care. Later that night, when Lena finally left, Evan wrapped his arms around me from behind while I rinsed dishes. "You've been so calm lately," he murmured into my hair. Calm. Like I was a storm that had finally stopped inconveniencing him. "I'm just tired," I said. And that was true. Not the kind of tired sleep fixes. The kind of tired you get from holding up something that keeps trying to collapse. The opportunity came the way most real opportunities do. Quietly, without announcement. Every summer, I host a shop barbecue. It started as a thank you to my clients and suppliers, but it's become a tradition. Live music in the yard, food laid out on folding tables, coolers of drinks, people wandering through the workshop to admire the bikes I've brought back from the dead. It's casual, loud, friendly, and it has one thing I know Lena can't resist: an audience. When I mentioned it to Evan, his eyes brightened like a kid. "Lena will love that," he said instantly, like it was automatic. That right there, that ease, was the kind of sentence that used to not bother me. Now it did. I smiled anyway. "Tell her to come." And I meant it, because I wasn't planning revenge. I wasn't trying to humiliate anyone. I was trying to know the truth. Because if you're going to rebuild something, or walk away from it, you don't do it based on suspicion. You do it based on evidence. A few days before the party, I made a technical upgrade to the shop. I installed new voice-activated security cameras inside the workshop where the drink station would be set up. Small, discreet, high definition. Crystal audio. The kind of cameras I'd wanted anyway, because parts go missing sometimes at gatherings, and it's always easier to have proof than to have a fight. I also made sure the bar was stocked the way Lena liked. Her favorite expensive whiskey, front and center. Because I'd noticed something about her over the years. When she drank, her mask slipped. Not in a dramatic, slurring mess way. Lena stayed elegant, even when she was tipsy. But her ego got loud. And ego always tells on itself. The day of the barbecue arrived hot and golden. The kind of summer day that makes everyone forgiving. The yard filled up fast. Customers arrived with their families. My suppliers brought cases of beer. Friends wandered in and out, like the place belonged to all of us. Music thumped from the speakers outside. Smoke curled from the grill. Laughter bounced off the concrete walls of my workshop. Evan looked happy, relaxed. He moved through the crowd like he was part of my world. And for a second, standing there watching him, I felt something dangerous. Hope. That maybe I'd been wrong. That maybe Lena was just annoying. That maybe I was the one reading malice into harmless history. Then Lena arrived. She came in with Evan, her arm looped through his like it was nothing. Like it wasn't a statement. Like she wasn't making sure everyone saw exactly where she belonged. She wore a dress that was a little too perfect for casual barbecue. Her makeup was effortless in that deliberate way. She hugged Evan first, longer than she needed to, then turned to me with a bright smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Violet," she chirped, "this is amazing. You always throw the best events." Always, like she'd been attending them longer than I had. I smiled back. "Glad you could make it." She drifted toward the bar like it was magnetized to her, and I drifted toward my phone like it was my pulse, because the cameras were on. The feed was running, and somewhere in all this noise, I could feel it. That moment before the engine finally seizes. By 8:30, the yard was buzzing. People were loosened by food and alcohol, cheeks flushed, voices louder. Evan was laughing with a group of my friends outside. I watched him from a distance, watched him look carefree, like he still believed love was just something you felt and not something you maintained. Inside the workshop, Lena had settled into her favorite position in any room. Center. She was holding court at the bar with a little cluster of women. Two of them I recognized as people who'd never warmed up to me, the kind who always seemed to side with the prettiest narrative. Lena's laugh floated over everything, sharp and confident. And then, around 9 o'clock, I glanced down at my phone. The camera feed had switched to active audio, meaning someone was talking loudly enough to trigger it. I raised my eyes, calm on the outside, heart thudding slow and heavy. On the screen, Lena tilted back her whiskey glass, her face glowing with alcohol and self-satisfaction. One of the women leaned in and said something I couldn't hear over the party noise. Lena smirked. Then she spoke, loud enough for the camera microphone to capture perfectly. I held my breath, because I knew that tone. I'd heard it before. Not from a friend. From someone who thinks she's already won. And she was about to say the thing Evan swore she would never say. Lena laughed first. It wasn't loud. It wasn't sloppy. It was that smooth, amused laugh people use when they think they're among allies. I'm telling you, she said, swirling the whiskey in her glass. This whole thing has an expiration date. One of the women beside her raised an eyebrow. What thing? Lena took a slow sip, enjoying the pause. Violet and Evan. I didn't move, didn't blink, didn't step closer. I just watched the screen. They look solid, the woman said. 3 years isn't nothing. Lena waved her hand dismissively. Please, Violet is a phase. A phase. My stomach tightened, but my hand stayed steady. She's the recovery girlfriend, Lena continued, voice warm with confidence. The safe landing after someone like Maya. There it was. I felt something click inside me. Not pain, not anger. Recognition. One of the women frowned. Recovery from what? From passion, Lena said lightly. From chaos. From feeling alive. She leaned forward, lowering her voice just a bit. Still loud enough for the camera. Evan needed someone dependable after Maya broke him. Someone grounded. Someone boring enough to make him feel secure again. The woman laughed uncertainly. That's kind of harsh. Lena smiled. Truth usually is. She took another drink. I mean, Violet's not bad, Lena went on. She's useful. She stabilizes him, pays the bills, builds the little life he needs right now. Right now. But she's not his future, Lena said, tapping her glass against the bar for emphasis. I am. One of the women's mouths actually fell open. You? She asked. Lena didn't hesitate. Of course me. She shrugged like it was obvious. I've been there through everything. I know him better than anyone. I know how to talk to him when he starts doubting himself. When he starts wondering if this, she gestured vaguely, like she was pointing at my entire existence, is all there is. My chest felt tight, like someone had cinched a strap around it. Still, I didn't move, because this was what truth sounded like when it finally stopped hiding. The best part, Lena continued, lowering her voice again, is that he doesn't even realize it's happening. She laughed softly. Every time I mention Maya, every time I talk about his old life, that's not nostalgia, that's strategy. One of the women whispered, Oh my God. She thinks it's her own idea, Lena said, grinning now, that she's just growing apart from Violet, getting restless, missing something. She leaned closer to them, conspiratorial. She has no idea I've been planting those thoughts the whole time. My heart started pounding harder. On the screen, Lena tilted her head, eyes glittering. She defends me to Violet, Lena went on. Calls her jealous, insecure, says I'm just protective. She laughed again, louder now, drunker. It's perfect. Violet looks like the problem. Evan feels misunderstood, and I look like the only person who really gets him. One of the women shook her head slowly. That's messed up, Lena scoffed. It's patience. She took a long drink, then set the glass down with a soft clink. All I have to do is wait. Violet will make one mistake, push too hard, say the wrong thing, and I'll be there to pick up the pieces. She smiled, satisfied. She always was more of a mechanic than a lover. That one landed like a punch. I inhaled sharply through my nose. On the screen, Lena leaned back against the bar, crossing her arms like she was finished performing. She thinks she's fixing him, Lena said. But really, she's just keeping him warm until he remembers who he belongs with. The camera kept rolling. She kept talking. For another 8 minutes, Lena unraveled herself, complaining about me, mocking my seriousness, bragging about how easy it was to stay close to Evan as long as she played the role of the loyal friend. I let it all record. Every word, every smile, every smug certainty. By the time she finally laughed and turned back to her drink, I felt calm. The diagnosis was complete. I locked my phone. Then I lifted my head and scanned the room. Evan was standing outside near the yard lights, laughing at something someone had said, completely unaware that his entire reality was about to collapse. I walked toward him. Not fast. Not slow. Just deliberate. Hey, I said, touching his arm gently. Can you help me with something in the workshop? He smiled, easy and trusting. Sure, what's up? Just a quick thing, I said. He followed me inside. As we walked past the bar, Lena was still there, basking in the glow of her own cleverness, completely unaware that her voice had already betrayed her. I didn't look at her. I walked straight to the large television mounted on the workshop wall, the one I usually use to show restoration videos. I reached into my pocket, took out my phone, connected it to the screen, and pressed play. The workshop went quiet. Lena's voice filled the space. Violet is a phase. Evan froze beside me. Lena turned, glass halfway to her lips, and for the first time that night, her smile disappeared. The sound of Lena's own voice echoed off the concrete walls. She's the recovery girlfriend. The words hit the room like a dropped wrench, sharp, unmistakable. Evan stiffened beside me. I felt it before I saw it. The sudden tension in his shoulders, the way his breath caught as recognition crawled up his spine. He turned slowly toward the screen, eyes widening, like his brain was trying to reject what it was hearing. Lena didn't move at first. She stood there with her whiskey glass hovering inches from her mouth, her face draining of color in real time. When she finally turned, her reflection stared back at her 6 feet tall on the television, smiling, smug, relaxed in her certainty. Violet stabilizes him, pays the bills, builds the little life he needs right now. A ripple of murmurs spread through the workshop. Someone near the door let out a quiet, stunned laugh. Another whispered, "Is that her?" Evan's mouth opened, then closed. He looked at me like I had suddenly become a stranger. "Violet," he said hoarsely, "what is this?" I didn't answer him. On the screen, Lena leaned in closer to her audience, her voice dropping into that conspiratorial whisper that makes lies feel like secrets. She has no idea I've been planting those thoughts the whole time. Evan flinched. I saw it then, the exact moment something inside him broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a small, irreversible fracture. Lena finally found her voice. "Turn it off," she said, too fast, too sharp. "Violet, turn that off right now." Her eyes darted around the room, searching for allies. She found none. "All I have to do is wait. Violet will make one mistake." The screen went black. Silence crashed down harder than the sound ever could have. Every face in the workshop turned, not toward Lena, but toward Evan. He stared at the blank screen, his jaw clenched so tight I thought it might crack. Then he looked at Lena. "Is that true?" he asked quietly. Lena stepped toward him, panic finally cracking her composure. "Evan, listen to me. I was drunk. I was venting. You know how people exaggerate." "You said you were writing my life like a script," he cut in. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. I took a step back, giving them space. Not because I was kind, but because I was done standing between them. Evan laughed once, a short, broken sound. "All those times," he said, "when Violet tried to talk to me, when she told me something felt wrong." He looked at me then, really looked at me. "I called you jealous," he said, voice cracking. "I said you didn't understand." I met his eyes. I wasn't angry. I was exhausted. "I told you who she was," I said. "You just didn't want to hear it." Lena reached for his arm. "Evan, please." He pulled away like her touch burned. "Don't," he said, "just don't." Tears were streaming down Lena's face now, mascara streaking, hands shaking. She looked around wildly, like she expected someone, anyone, to rescue her from the truth. No one did. I took another step back, widening the space between Evan and me until it felt like a canyon. "This isn't just about her," I said softly. "It's about trust, and you let it break." The band was still playing outside, oblivious. Laughter drifted in from the yard, like it belonged to another world. "I can't do this anymore," I said. "I can't be with someone who needs a third voice in our relationship." Evan swallowed hard. "Violet, please, we can talk." "I already tried," I said. "You didn't listen." I turned to the room, to the frozen faces, the half-finished drinks. "The bar's still open," I said calmly. "Enjoy the party." Then I walked away. I didn't run. I didn't look back. Behind me, Lena collapsed into sobs. Evan called my name once, just once. I didn't stop. Because some engines don't stall. They seize. And when they do, you don't force them back into motion. You shut them down. I didn't go home that night. I got in my truck and drove until the city lights thinned out and the noise inside my head finally quieted. There's a small cabin about an hour out of town that I co-own with a friend. Nothing fancy, just wood, silence, and a porch that looks out over trees that don't care about human drama. I turned off my phone. For 2 days, I let myself exist without explanations. When I finally powered it back on, the screen exploded. Missed calls. Dozens of them. Text messages stacked so high they blurred together. Most were from Evan. The pattern was almost textbook. First came the panic. "Violet, please, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Call me. Just let me explain." Then the rage. Misdirected. Frantic. "She lied to me. I can't believe Lena would do this. She ruined everything." Then the bargaining. "I'll cut her off completely. We can go to therapy. Don't throw away 3 years because of her." And finally, the quiet ones. "I miss you. The house feels wrong without you." I read every message. They hurt, but not enough to make me doubt myself. Because the truth was simple, even if it wasn't kind. I didn't leave Evan because of Lena. I left because when I asked him to trust me, he didn't. Lena tried too. Her messages came in waves. First denial, then excuses, then fury. She accused me of setting her up, of manipulating the situation, of recording her without consent. She threatened legal action until someone smarter than her explained what private property with posted cameras meant. After that, she went quiet. The fallout didn't. The people who had heard the confession didn't forget it. The recording wasn't blasted online. It didn't need to be. It moved through our social circle the way truth always does, person to person, impossible to outrun. Lena lost friends, then her job, then her reputation. She tried to paint herself as the victim, but victims don't usually brag on camera about planting doubt and writing someone's life. Her own words buried her. 2 days after I came back from the cabin, I returned to the house. I didn't yell, I didn't rage. I packed every single thing that belonged to Evan, carefully, respectfully, clothes folded, books stacked, fragile items wrapped. I wasn't angry anymore. I was finished. He showed up halfway through, standing frozen in the doorway like he didn't recognize the place. "What are you doing?" he asked quietly. "I'm helping you move," I said, taping a box shut. "I don't want to move," he whispered. "I want to stay with you." I looked at him then, really looked. "I loved you," I said, "but love doesn't survive without trust, and ours didn't." We talked for over an hour, the first honest conversation we'd had in months. He told me he'd confronted Lena after I left the party. She'd admitted everything, still claiming she did it because she loved him. He told me he'd cut her out completely. I believed him. It just didn't change anything. "I wasn't wrong about her," I said gently, "but I was wrong about you." He had no answer for that. When we finished loading his car, he stood in the driveway staring at the house. "I really loved you, Violet," he said. "I know," I replied. "I loved you too." And that was the last time I saw him. 6 months have passed since that night. The silence that followed was not lonely. It was peaceful. My shop is thriving. Word travels fast in niche worlds, and apparently people respect someone who doesn't tolerate manipulation. I pour my energy into restorations now, machines that respond honestly to care and attention. Lena disappeared from our orbit entirely. The last I heard, she moved back to her hometown, an artist with no audience left willing to listen. Evan wrote me once, a letter, not a plea, not an excuse, an apology. He said losing me hurt, but losing his own integrity hurt more. He said he'd started therapy, that he finally understood how easily he'd let someone else narrate his life. One line stayed with me. "You were a mechanic trying to fix an engine I refused to believe was broken." I believe he meant it. I forgive him. But forgiveness doesn't mean access. I don't take broken engines back on the road. The truth didn't destroy anyone in this story. It just stopped protecting the lies. And I'm okay with that.